Hey, what's going on, y'all? It's your man Paul by Shea Williams, licensed clinical social worker and psychotherapist. While I was working out, I was thinking about a particular incident that happened to me where I had to make a decision that didn't really please the ego, right? Um, it's kind of funny when I think about it because I was laughing at myself and I was like, I really let somebody run me out of the gym. I let somebody run me out of the gym. Now, let me get to the full story so you can really understand what I'm saying and what happened. So, we all know what flight, fight, freeze, and fawn is. Maybe some people don't know what fawn is, but essentially, it's the body's response to a perceived threat, right? It's something that was developed way back in our ancestors when they were out hunting and had to protect families and protect themselves, right? So you think about fighting. Fighting is like literally maybe physically fighting or arguing or going at the threat. Flight is fleeing from the threat. Fight is leaving the threat. Whether you're scared or it's the smartest thing to do, and it's not worth it, right? And then freezing is literally you're getting stuck. And some people freeze when a threat comes and they're not sure what to do, so they literally clam up. And sometimes in that freeze, you get to make a decision, right? You're processing what's happening because of you need to make the best decision for you, but the threat is there, so you're really unsure. So you go through this process. I want you to think of freezing isn't always a bad thing. I want you to think of the equalizer, right? When Denzel um, when the threat comes, he kind of pauses and he looks around and he figures out what he needs to do. Where's the first weapon? Where's the opportunity? Where's the threat? Who's this? Like that whole process, right? And then fawning is essentially negotiating with the threat, trying to talk your way out of it or communicate effectively where that person may be able to, whatever threat, may be able to decrease their aggression or whatever they're presenting at the time that is a perceived threat. So here it is. Being almost, I won't say almost. I left the gym, so I'm gonna bring it down. So I used to coach my son's basketball team, little league basketball team, and he just said he's wanted to stop playing for various reasons. It's less about that. But anyway, we had a game and he didn't want to play, so he didn't come to the last game, which is fine. Again, there was many reasons behind that, so I allowed him to stay home. And plus, we were supposed to go on a cruise the next day to the Bahamas, and he was at home packing with the woman I was dating at the time at my apartment, which was right around the corner from where I was coaching the last game. So there I am coaching with the assistant, and it is the playoffs. And during the game, there was this gentleman who I knew. We weren't cool or anything. We didn't have a relationship, but I knew him from high school or middle school. So we're at the game, and this gentleman, he keeps walking in front of the bench, like distracting. I can't see the game. Just like, yo, watch out, man. I'm just not really paying attention to him. But he keeps walking back in front of the bench. And then finally, I look up, and he's looking down at me with a snarl. He's trying to grit on me. And I look at the assistant coach like this. I was like, yo, that's your man? Like, what's going on with him? So I was like, anyway, I just kind of shrugged it off and waved it off. But then he came back and did it again. So I said, okay, this is a threat, right? At this particular moment, this is a threat. So in that particular moment, once I noticed it was a threat, I had a couple decisions to make. The first one was I was freezing because I was looking at the environment. I needed to scope what was happening around me. So the first thing I sized him up, right? Saw what he had on. He had some boots. They weren't tied up. So it's like, okay, he's, might be slipping all over the court. Then I saw that he had long nails. I was like, if we got into a altercation, he's probably going to scratch me. And I kind of sized him up. He's a little bit smaller than me. I was in my 30s. And I kind of played out what it would look like. And I also saw that when he walked past me, he didn't turn back to look. So if I wanted to, like, grab him from behind and grab his neck or slam him or whatever, that was an option for me at that particular time. This is just me processing what could or could not happen, right? Because I don't know if I could have done all that. But anyway, this is my thought process. The other thing was I kind of looked at the environment and I saw that his son was on the bench. He was one of my favorite players. And I saw he looked worried. He looked anxious. It's just like, oh man, I can't get into an altercation with his dad. Like that's one of my son's friends. Like they used to come over and sleep over. I used to help them out. So it was a bunch of different things that were playing around on my thought process. And then I looked at the gym. There were families. There were other kids there. It's like, okay, so I can't do that in this environment, and I'm not going to jeopardize anything in this environment, right? So that's the thought process there, right? That's going through the freezing. And, as I thought about fighting, if I back up a little bit, I thought about the consequences of fighting, right? I'm not going to catch that flight tomorrow because somebody's going to get hurt. All types of injuries could happen. Or the police will be called, right? And somebody's going to go to jail, or both of us are going to go to jail, or both of us are going to get hurt. And I don't know if he has a weapon. I don't know if he came prepared. I don't know if he has other people with him in the crowd. There's a whole bunch of different things to consider when thinking about fighting, right? And also, I'm 30 something. I don't know. I can't tell you the last time I've been in a fight. So I don't know if I would have been effective in fighting, right? So I'm thinking about all those different things. So those were the consequences of like literally fighting, right? So I decided to get up and I decided to walk out. So that's what flight looks like. But the caveat to that is the flight is that I'm catching a flight the next day. I'm catching a flight early in the morning to go down to Florida to get on this cruise to the Bahamas. But I also struggle with that because my ego was like, you letting this dude run you out of the gym. So as I was walking very slowly to my car, walked out of the gym, took my time, I sat in my car for about 5 minutes, right outside the gym, and just like, yo, you really about to let this dude stop you from coaching, make you leave the gym because he's acting tough. So I wrestled with that for about 5 minutes, secretly hoping he would come outside and maybe we can have a conversation or maybe we can have an altercation. Either one, I was thinking that could happen. But eventually I got over my ego. I knew the best thing to do for that particular moment was to go home. And even though I got out of the environment and I was in the Bahamas the next day, I still struggled with the fact that I allowed this to happen. But I knew, again, it was the best decision I could have. Because in the back of my head, where the ego comes in, it was like, what are the people that were there going to think? What is everybody going to think? Like, is the internet going to get a hold of it? Just a bunch of different things that you can think of, like as far as identity, manhood, masculinity, all the different things that kind of shape who men are supposed to be, right? In the eyes of society, right? And what we're taught and how we're groomed to be these tough people that's supposed to handle conflict physically and never let nobody punk you and all of that, right? So I struggle with that. I also recognized I was in the Bahamas with my son. We were on a jet ski, right? It's like, yo, let me just be present, relax, and just enjoy the moment. So I was able to be present for a while, the rest of the trip. I didn't let it get to me. When I got back, it was ironic because at that particular time, before I was a therapist, I was consistently in that person's neighborhood because I had other clients I was managing, case managing consistently. So again, I was in that neighborhood. So there was like this secret, like, I'll see him when I get back and we can have a conversation. And the conversation is about negotiating, right? That's about fawning. Because what I realized was he was angry off of what somebody lied to him about. And it was somebody that we both dated or messed around with. And so I started to put it together. Oh, so you're upset because this person lied to you. So let me come and tell you, if I do see you, this is the fawning part, that this person is lying to you. It's been proven that this person has been a liar and has lied. And in fact, there's evidence of this person lying, and you're probably upset about the lie because you don't know the truth, right? That's the fawning. And I could have had that conversation if we were both mature enough to have that conversation when we saw each other. Thank God I never ran into him. We didn't have a relationship that we needed to develop. We didn't have a relationship that we needed to fix, foster, repair, or any of that. And we never saw each other again. And I want us men to really think about, how do we leave a situation where it's a perceived threat to make a better decision to live on the next day, right? And not allow our ego or let our masculinity be tied to a moment that can possibly destroy everything that we have and everything that we can get, right? And this goes for young kids too, who struggle from walking away, or if they do walk away, they feel like they got to go back and retaliate when they're in a better position to fight back, right? It's not necessary. Yes, I struggled with it for a little bit. Yes, I thought about my identity, and I thought about, what if people found out? I thought about that for a minute, but I also thought about the relationship I have with my son. I thought about my future. I thought about where I can go professionally. I thought where I can go personally. And I also thought about where that particular person was. First, they're they're upset off of a lie. And the other part is, they're not worth it. And I wasn't worth it either for them to even try to be tough or fight or whatever they thought that was going to happen, right? And it was all based off of a lie. And a lot of times, a lot of our discrepancies, our fights, are based off of lies that we tell ourselves, or lies that are told to us. We don't have to get into these physical altercations, possibly ruin our lives or ruin other people's lives because of perceived threats, or identity and masculinity, or this idea that we got to be the tough guy all the time. It was tough for me to walk away, but it was the best decision I made that day. And I look at where I'm at now, I don't know if I would be here right now, for a variety of reasons. So I hope this story helps somebody. So like I said, I did leave the gym. He did, I guess, run me out of the gym. But yeah, we good, man. Y'all be easy.